So this is our module number 7. Now in this module, we'll be creating the register endpoint for users, right? So here, what I will do is I will go to my Chrome browser, and here I have prepared this diagram for you all. Okay, so let us understand what this diagram is telling about. This diagram depicts the how does an actual production ready backend works. So we have three things. One is route, one is controller, and another one is servers. So right here, what you can see, this thing. Okay, so let me just highlight this thing, this particular thing. It's basically the route. Okay, so it's the API endpoint, which is slash API slash v1 slash users slash register. So this is the endpoint. Okay. Now what happens is whenever a client sends a request, okay. So let us say this is a client, and what the client will do is the client will send some data, okay, some data let us say sign up credentials. Okay. Wait a second. Okay. So here let us say he or she is sending sign up details. Okay. So he or she is sending some sign up details. Fine. So after sending sign up details, what will happen is it will hit the endpoint. Okay. And this is most probably, not most probably, actually it is a post request which is sent to the server. Okay. Now when the client sends a request, now what this will do is it is the base endpoint. Now this will forward the request to the actual endpoint, that is the slash register endpoint right here. Okay, and after forwarding the request, okay, we have a controller. Now, what is a controller? Let us check what is a controller. Controller in REST API. So, if I search for controller in REST API and go through a couple of definitions by W3 schools, okay, so ignore this advanced Java Spring REST controller. Okay, so just understand what is a controller. This is actually Geeks for Geeks website, and here you can see I have this meaning. A REST controller in Spring Boot, okay, is annotated with actually it's not telling me what's the actual meaning of the controller. Okay. Controller, let us see the AI overview here. So in REST API, controller is a specialized class that acts as the entry point for incoming HTTP request. Okay, so you can say that it functions as a broker and manager between the client like mobile app or a web server and the application's internal business logic. Okay, so here you can see that in the diagram. Okay, in the diagram, the controller lies between the endpoint and the service. Now, this service will contain these three things. Okay, business logic, validations, return a response or throw error if something went wrong. Okay, so particularly we have these two things. One is business logic, another one is validations. What happens is whenever you send a request, it goes through the endpoint and it forwards the HTTP request to the register controller. Now what it will do, it will process the HTTP request. It will handle the incoming request, which will contain some body, some params or some queries. Okay, now after this handles the incoming HTTP request, it processes it. So what this will do, it will send the data to the register service. Okay, so send the processed data to the register service. Now, after sending the processed data to the register service, what will happen is it will run these three things. It will do these three things. First, it will go ahead and run the business logic, whatever we have put to register a user. Then it will run some validations upon the user. Then we have return a response or throw error if something went wrong. Okay, so this will do these three things. Okay, then what this will do, it will send back the result back to the controller, and then in return, controller will send back to the endpoint, which will in turn return to the client. So I can write here that, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll move a bit up and I will write here like uh, send the a response to the client. Okay, so this is the work of the router. So it will send back the response to the client. Now what register controller will do? We will send some data through the register service. Now register controller may send the response in text format or in JSON format. So in industry standards, we always use JSON formats for sending responses back to the client. But in some cases, we may also send some text messages. Okay, so we may send some verification codes or anything, or like some plain text messages like success, error, anything else. But those are mostly sent with this format. That is the JSON format. Okay, so right now we have understood that how this thing works. So let us go ahead and create here. Okay, so now here what I will do is I will create folders, like I will have a routes folder, and inside the routes folder I'll have auth.route.js. Okay, now inside this we have auth.route.js file. Okay, then we will have a controllers folder, controllers slash auth.controller.js. Okay, now we will have a services folder, auth.service.js. Now you may have also noticed that many people or many beginners, what they do is they write all the controller logic, all the HTTP handling logic and business logic right into the routes file. So that is not a proper standard to be followed. First, what you have to do is you have to define the route. Okay, so coming backwards, going backwards, first what you have to do is you have to define the logic inside the service file. Okay, inside the service file, your business logic will lie. That is the validation logic or anything like insertion, update, anything you want to do, you have to do inside the service file. Then inside the controller, what you do is you just handle the service inside the controller and pass the incoming HTTP request like the body, whatever you pass, or any params that you have in your controller file or inside the request actually. So inside the request, if you have any body or params or anything else, you have to pass that to the auth service if auth service demands it, if it has the parameters. Then what you do is you go to auth route, define a route, and you have to call that specific controller function to get handled inside the route. So let us create a simple service, register user. So register user, it will be async function. I'll be telling you why. And here I will accept these things: username, password, email, then we'll have password, and then we'll have a C password. Okay. Now after writing this, what I will do, I will simply return this thing: message data received, data received successfully. Okay, data received successfully, and here I will send the data name, username, username, then email, then password, then C password. Now above this I will write a simple thing, that is if what you do is if not of name or not of username, or let us say what I will do is it's a professional level backend. So what I'll do is I'll create an array and I'll put name, username, then I'll have email, then I'll have password, then I'll have C password, and then dot sum. Now dot sum, what this will do, you can see a function that accepts up to 3 arguments. The sum method calls on the predicate function for each element in the array until the predicate returns a value which is coercible to the boolean value true until the end of the array. So what I will do is I will go ahead and I will write C. Okay, C. Let us say C represent each and every element, and not of C or C triple equals to an empty string. Now, if this is the case, what you should do is directly go ahead, don't think anything, throw new API error. new API error. I think I defined that inside the utils API error, export class API error. Yeah, throw new API error. Okay, and inside this, I have to provide the status code that is 400, which is the status code for bad request, and I'll send all fields are required. Okay, all fields are required. Now I will save this. Now what did I just do? Let me tell you shortly. Okay. So what I will do is here, okay, so I'll summarize what I have just done. So here you can see that this is the function header, and here I'm accepting the name, username, email, password, and confirm password from the user. Now what did I just do here? Now here you can see that this is an array in which all the fields are put, and here I am running dot sum. Now what dot sum will do is it will run for each and every element for this. Now what I can also do is I can run the for each loop inside this for this array, and I can validate that, but this is the method that I can use dot sum. And here what I'm doing is not of C or C triple equals to empty string. Now see, whenever we are passing from the postman or any API testing client, what happens is they by default send undefined values, but when we send from client they may send empty strings. Okay, so here I am validating both, either if it's undefined or it's an empty string. So just throw this API error, and I will show you how to handle this API error professionally. And here what I will do is I will create a auth controller. First of all, I have to export this. Export const your auth service is equal to this is register user function. Control is to save, and here what I will do is I will import. Now here let me tell you that you need to provide .js. Okay, so here inside auth service, this API header must be provided with the .js extension, and here I will import a user, not user actually, auth service .js. Okay, and here I will write const register user. Now here I will be using the async handler. Async handler. Didn't I export async handler? Yeah, I exported async handler. Async handler. Okay, and here I will pass one async function. Request response and next. Okay, request response and next. Fine. Now, why did I create this async handler is actually without this async handler, we have to write the try catch multiple times in our controller. Okay, so that's why I wrote this async handler. Okay, and here what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a global error handling middleware. So here I will write const result is equal to await. Now why I'm doing this await, because auth service dot register user is a what it is, it's a promise, it returns a promise. Okay, so here I'm having name, then now how do I get this name, username and all? So let me copy those. Okay, I'll copy this fields, copy, and here what I will do is I'll write const this is equal to ref.body, request.body, and one by one I'll pass it here, name, username, then I have email, then I have password, and then I have C password. Okay, and format on save, right? Now here what I will do is I will just return, or I'll write here res response dot status 200. Okay, and without sending JSON objects manually, what I'll do is I'll write a JSON, and I will write a new API response I don't know why it's not auto importing everything. Import API response from utils slash API response dot js. Okay, and yeah, I think it has imported. Yes. Uh, Wait a minute. I think I forgot something here. So new API response, and here status code is 201. So after creating the user, we require this 201, that is the status for created. Okay. Then we will have the data. What is the data? The data is result. And then we have message user created successfully. Fine. Save this. And now export const auth controller is equal to I will provide register user. Control is to save, and here I will define a router. Import router, and here what I will do is const router is equal to router. I'll call the router function from express. Then router dot route. Okay, router dot route slash register. Then dot post. So I'm creating a route register slash register and handling a post request. So I'll directly pass in this thing called auth controller dot register user. Okay, save this dot js. Now here what I will do is I will create a global error handler middleware. Okay, so that I don't have to manually handle errors myself. So here inside src I'll create a new file middlewares slash error dash handler dot middleware dot js. Now see, at each step I'm using production ready means file name system. So I'll write her export const error handler, which takes an request response and next. Okay, and I think we also have one error. Yeah, we also have error, and here I will say if err instance of API error, if it's the instance of API error dot js, and here what I will do is mm, okay, so what I will do is if it's the instance of API error, so here what can I do? I can just directly write rest.status err dot you have this status code, and then dot json new API response, and inside this API response what I will have is let me see what can I have. API response uh, error dot status code. Okay, then we will have a null. So we don't have any now. Error dot message. Okay, error dot message, and else what you should do. Else what you should do. You should just straight away go ahead and return 500, and here also 500, and message if error message exists, or else send something went wrong. Okay, now let me tell you one thing. In order to do this request.body, we need to use two inbuilt middlewares by express. So here what I will do is first app.use express.json, that will help us to parse JSON data. then app.use express.url encoded, because sometimes we require to send form data as well. So extended fine. Then here I will use the global error handler. So app.use error handler. Fine. So app.use error handler, and I don't think I need to call. Do I need to call this? I don't need to call this. And yeah, so right away we get error. Inside a error handler. So here we have to write API response.js. Fine. So it will start here, and let us try to send. Let us create a new request. Actually, it's recommended to create a new collection actually. So I'll click on new and click on collection. Okay, click on collection, and I will write here secure x YouTube. Okay, secure x YouTube, and I will create a new request. Rather, let me do one thing, that I will create a folder. Okay, rename the folder to authentication, and inside this folder I will create a new request. Okay, I'll create a new request which will go for a post request. Now here inside our server.js, instead of this hello API, I will write here app.use slash API slash auth slash API slash v1 slash auth, and then I will use the use auth router. I don't think I have exported auth router, so I have to export it. Export router as auth router from the auth.route.js file. Control is to save. Fine. And here I will use the auth router. Now auth router is a middleware, so I have to use the app.use. So let us try to send, and here what I will do is, inside this securex YouTube I have to define a variable. So auth API base URL, okay, HTTP localhost 8080, I think, slash API slash v1, okay, API base URL. So I we have to define like this, slash API slash v1 slash auth, and save this. And after saving this, I can just go ahead and call this slash register. Okay, and as soon as I send this, okay, 500 internal server error, cannot destructure property of request.body as it is undefined. So let me see what's the error and try to send again. So let me do one thing actually here. Uh, Let me just cut this. I will handle empty strings right here. Uh, Cannot destructure property as it is undefined. So here can I do something like this? I know I am violating my own rules. Okay, if not of C or C triple equals to 0, not 0 actually, empty string. So send, and after sending reference error cannot. Uh, okay, so it's compulsory that I have to define this request.body as I am destructuring that. So I have to define them. So name empty string, then username empty string, then email we have empty string, password empty string, and then I have C password. Save this and send it again. And here all fields are required. Error. Why it's throwing error like this? Throw new API. Save this. It should throw in a JSON format, right? Let me see what's the issue. Okay, so I figured out this issue, that is, I have to actually use this error handler below all the API routes, not above that. Otherwise, it will throw this plain errors like all fields are required. Okay, so I have to do like this, and here you can see that I'm getting status code 400, data null, and message all fields are required. Let us say I am filling all the fields, test 1 to 3, and here also I am filling test at the rate 1 to 3. Okay, test 1 to 3 4 hash, and test 1 2 3 4 hash. Now save this, send it again, and here data received successfully, and here we have test 1 2 3, test at the rate 1 2 3, and it's done. Okay, user register, or let us say only register. Fine. Now what we will do is we will go ahead and write the entire logic for user registration. Okay, so straightforward, what I will do is I will just write simply the logic to create a new user. I will handle the validations in the next module. I'll be telling you how to handle the validations. Okay, so not inside auth controller, inside auth service. Okay, straight away create the user. Okay, and here I will straight away create the user. So const right here new user is equal to await user model. I don't know why it's not giving me auto completing suggestions. It's not providing me any suggestion. Let me manually import that. Okay, I think it's not providing because I have not installed this extension. That's why it's not providing any auto suggestion, because I have to install this JavaScript ES code snippets so that it provides me auto suggestions. I think for this only it's not providing auto suggestions. Let me see. User model, still no suggestions, still no suggestions. So manually import user model from dot slash models slash user dot model dot js, and await user model dot create. Okay, so create, I have to pass these three things. One is name, username, email, and password. Okay, I have to directly pass these three things. Save this, and what I will return is return. Let us say I'm returning the new user. Okay, I am returning the new user. Now, as soon as I hit the API endpoint again, next is not a function where it is raising the error inside models, I think. Next is not a function. I don't think we require this next function. Just remove this, save this, and again send. Yeah. So why it's selecting password? I don't think it should select password. It shouldn't be selecting password. It's verified false, and it's actually selecting the password. I don't know why. So let me just do one thing like that. Here I will just write delete new user dot password so that it deletes the password field from the user, the new user. Okay. And if I'll send it again, I know that I am gonna get error. Okay, I will get error, that is duplicate error collection. Now, if I'll just try to test 1 to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, email is okay, 1, 2, 3, 8. I know this is not a valid email. We'll be adding validations in the next module. Fine. So let us send it again, and it's still selecting the password. Why it's selecting the password? It shouldn't select the password actually. So let me see what's the issue. Select false. It shouldn't select password. Okay. I don't know what's the issue. Let me see. Okay, so I just noticed that here what we should do is const. So let new user, and here I will write new user is equal to new user dot to object. Okay, and then delete new user dot password. Okay, so I have to do this thing because the select false works only for find and find one methods. Okay, and right here, what I will do, I will just again send the email and username different and click on send again. And yeah, so right here you can see username is this and email is this, and here you can see is verified is being returned and no password is selected. Okay, so this is fine actually. And also we can actually do one thing, that we can actually, can I select uh no, I have to actually also delete these things if I'm returning the user, but in production ready cases we don't actually return the user, we will just simply return true. Okay, we simply return true. And yeah, so here you can see that we are getting success as true because status code is less than 400. Now this is the designing of the endpoint of the registration, but this is not ideal actually. We will not return any data from created endpoint while we are creating. So now what I will do is I'll push this code, and in the next module, module number 8, what we'll be doing is we'll be handling the validation for our registration endpoint. So module number 7 and create register endpoint. Create register endpoint. Fine. Let me just commit all these files to development. Okay, so yeah, so push origin. Now they have been pushed to origin. And let me tell you that I have already uploaded all the 6 videos and they are scheduled to be premiered and get public. Okay, so let us meet in the 8th module.